Good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us on yet another episode of the podcast. Today, I have a phenomenal guest with me in the studio. I have Lady Sheila Moor, and we're going to be having a conversation around the power of Agri-Tech in tackling food waste. And so I will just read out her bio so you guys get to know her a bit better, and then we'll dive into the conversation. Sheila Moore is a dynamic food technologist and business developer committed to rebuilding sustainable food system across Africa. With a bachelor's degree in food science and technology from Federal University of Agriculture, Makurdi, she combines a deep technical knowledge with strategic leadership. As the founder and CEO of Fresh Fare HQ, Sheila leads an agri-tech startup that is tackling food waste, post-harvest losses through innovation. She also serves as the national sales manager for Novi-Agro Ltd, a European agro-allied firm revolutionizing livestock in agriculture. Currently, Sheila is pursuing an MBA in global supply chain management. Sheila brings a wealth of expertise into business development, project management, social impact. She's also an SDG advocate, an African Union climate innovator, and a sought after keynote speaker. Lady Sheila, welcome to the podcast.
I think I'm muted. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Fantastic. I am most excited to have you on the podcast. And so, as we start out the conversation today, my very first question to you is, you know, Fresh Fair HQ, what sort of inspired you to, focus on that aspect of agriculture? What inspired you to start that? What has the journey been for you thus far? And sort of just walk us through the problems that you guys are trying to solve with your organization.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Pete, again for bringing us. I like to use the plural because my team at Fresh Fair is us, and everyone's work actually cumulatively make us who we are and help
Yeah.
us to solve the problem that we are solving. So I'm always very excited to talk about Fresh Fair and the vision and what led me to think about that and what actually made me to create a team and then tackle the problems I would tackle. So I am from Benue. Benue is supposed to be, or it is, the food basket of the nation.
Yeah.
So that just means essentially that a lot of food is produced in Benue.
True.
Unfortunately, more than a third of that food that is produced every year goes to waste. And I
Mm,
have been around food waste. I've been around food service losses all my life, literally,
mm,
because everyone in Benue, so far as you are from that state, means that you own a farm, and my
yes.
parents inclusive. So I grew up knowing that farming was part of the culture, and
Mm-hmm.
even back at home, I could see some of the food that would harvest go to waste because of
Mm,
lack of proper preservation methods. So when I
mm,
see that I grew up around food waste, then I actually mean it because I saw it firsthand. And then
mm,
traveling through the remote villages in Benue State, you would see the amount of food that is thrown away is alarming. And then in the
mm,
same state, you'd see so many people impoverished, and most of them go hungry. Most of them
mm,
living below poverty line and literally struggling to survive. And now that's like an irony, right? Because how can a state that produces so much food have most of its indigents or inhabitants hungry and starving? It made no sense to me. But then as I grew older, I thought of different ways, honestly, to curb the menace. And at the time, I started a community organization called Food Army Nigeria. And basically,
mm,
what Food Army was doing was trying as possible to sensitize young people, market women, and whoever really cared to listen about the dangers of food waste and post harvest losses. And we went as far as even teaching simple methods, simple home remedies, I'd say, how to preserve food for, just to elongate its shelf life for a few days or a few weeks, that's for perishables. And then even for cereal grains, how to extend their shelf lives and stuff like that. And we did that for a while, and we still do, but just in a different scale. And actually, Fresh Fare was supposed to be a project within Food Army, a project which
Mm,
morphed and became a startup on its own. So what we're doing at Fresh Fare is we're basically revolutionizing the food supply chain network, and we're
yeah.
leveraging cold chain technology. So we're trying
Mm,
to make sure that food reaches the final consumers in the best shape possible.
mm,
And beyond just preserving food, we're also trying to empower smallholder farmers with a ready market for their produce. If you
okay.
observe, the very first point of food waste is the farm.
Yeah.
So when food is harvested, a lot of it, and then there is no ready market to take off all of this food or most of it, then it starts to deteriorate as the days go by, especially
Yeah.
perishables, fruits and vegetables. So
Yeah.
that's basically what we're trying to do. We're trying to also shorten the supply chain network, right, and make it as fast as possible. So we offtake from smallholder farmers, giving them access to a ready market. We transport this produce to urban cities where we store them in solar-powered off-grid cold rooms. We get that from our partnership with Cold Hubs Limited. So Cold Hubs
Okay.
is a major player in Nigeria when it comes to cold storage infrastructure. So the partnership with that company, thanks to Code Hubs, gives us access to the off-grid cold rooms that we have, and we store this produce, our fresh produce, into the cold rooms. And then we have a short, what's it called now? A cold tricycle. They're like
Okay.
mopeds, small mini trucks. So
Yeah.
those trucks actually handle our last mile logistics. So it's like a closed loop. So whatever it is
Mm,
that you're getting from Fresh Fare, it means that it is safe, and smallholder farmers are being empowered because people are purchasing from us because we offtake from them. So that's the
mm.
entire idea behind Fresh Fare and how we actually started. I'll just keep it that way, and then we'll continue the rest in the course of the conversation.
Wow. I just hearing you talk about it, it was more of a case of seeing the need and taking the lead. You had experienced like, oh, we definitely have a lot of production going on, but how come we're still having our people impoverished? And you took
Oh
it
yeah,
upon yourself to do something about it. And I think that that's like the starting point for entrepreneurship, just wanting to solve a problem. And that's
exactly.
what you have demonstrated by just, by doing that. So thank you for sharing that. You talked you, you talked you talked a bit
You talked a
about
bit
the.
about.
I'm not sure why I'm getting feedback. Okay, so you talked a bit about like waste and in terms of like management of food waste. And so, what's like the biggest cause of food waste and post harvest loss across the African, so across the Nigerian food chain, and why do you think that this keeps persisting? From your own experience.
Okay. So, as I had mentioned earlier, though briefly, the very first point of food waste is the farms. Now, because there are so many people in Nigeria and there are very limited jobs, so many people in rural areas, they turn to farming as a source of livelihood, right?
Yeah.
So they practice farming as literally like a way of life, right? Because
Mm,
they farm to keep their families fed, they farm to keep their pockets full, and to be able to provide for their families and just their basic human needs, right? So now,
yeah.
the very first point of food waste being the farm, which means that there's a lot of food being produced. I always say that Nigeria does not have a food production problem. We do not,
Mm,
because a lot of food is being produced. We have a food waste and post-harvest loss management problem because the lot of
mm,
food that is produced in Nigeria is enough to feed its growing population. Like Nigeria can be food secure. We have a huge potential of being food secure, but then it does not happen. because once the food is produced, mostly in these rural areas, you have no access to proper food preservation methods or infrastructure. Number
Yeah.
one, because even for those people that have access to, I'd say, refrigerators, there's a power problem.
Mm.
It's power in Nigeria is very epileptic, so most of it, if you even try to preserve using your normal electricity refrigeration systems, it just doesn't work. It can just work for a few days and then it starts to deteriorate. And that is
Mm.
why food kind of wastes a lot, because there's poor preservation methods or infrastructure available. And then number two, another key factor towards or that contributes to food waste is poor transportation networks. Now, Nigerian
Mm.
roads are they're mostly bad, right? And the farms in remote areas is not even helping. So now, by the time food starts to move from the point of harvest to where most of it is being sold,
Yeah.
a lot of it starts to deteriorate already. Now, let's say sometimes it takes what should have taken a day to move would maybe probably take 2 or 3 days.
Mm.
And before it gets to the point where it's supposed to be supplied, most of it is gone.
Yeah.
Yes, it's bad. Most of it goes bad. So I always say that the very first point is the farms. So a lot of post-harvest losses happen at the farm, and then a lot of food waste happens in the farmers markets. Now, for example, you visit a farmer's market, and the first sight you see beyond the beautiful colors of freshly harvested produce is heaps of wasted produce, the stench in the air. You see it right there in the farmer's market. And this is what happens when farmers harvest and they bring the produce. Mostly first the second place that you find produce is the farmers market, right, which
Yeah.
are usually in clusters not extremely far from the farms. It's mostly
Correct.
like the first urban city that you see um, from the rural area where they are coming from. And when they don't have buyers buy off this produce, day one, day two, day three, most of them start to deteriorate and go bad. And once produce goes bad, what do? There is no proper storage system where farmers can quickly go there and store their produce and elongate their shelf life, pending when a customer is going to come take from them. Then it starts to go bad. And when it goes bad, they trash it. Now, these people most times don't even know how to properly dispose of this waste. And then it's like a ripple effect. Now that goes to what's it called now? Greenhouse gas emissions that pollute the environment as well.
Yeah.
So now the farmers market is the second point where you see a lot of waste, from agricultural produce. So these two areas are places where a lot of food is wasted. And what Fresh Fair is doing is we're trying to, should I say, eliminate? No, that would be a little too total. To minimize
Minimize.
as much as
Yeah.
possible, yes, to minimize as much as possible the percentage of this food that is going to waste. And that is why we say that we are empowering smallholder farmers with an access to market. So if
Mm.
for instance, our cluster of farmers in Plateau State, Nigeria, we have this cluster of farmers, and we're notifying this is the time that they're going to harvest XYZ types of products, and then we are going to come and we're going to take this volume from them. So that way, you know that a lot of this volume is taken off the farmer's hand in the best shape possible, because we ensure that we're taking produce from them as they are harvesting. So we take that and we transport it via a cooling van, courtesy of Code Hubs as well, into the urban centers where it goes into the solar powered off grid code rooms. And that's another thing that I really want to thank Code Hubs for, because of the power issues in Nigeria. Using renewable energy to preserve fresh produce is it's a winner. I think it doesn't go past that, to be honest. That the energy is renewable. We're not buying solar power. So far as there is sunlight, then you know that whatever is in that cold room is safe for as long as possible. I don't know if I digressed or if I answered the question spot on, but well, let's go ahead.
So you didn't digress. It's just like is that it's really like a sequence. Because the next question I was meant to ask you was, how does agrotech help in preventing this spoilage? And if you could walk us through that process, which was something you just spoke about, like how Food Hub helps with that, ensuring like the solar grid power supply, so that products are always kept in
Oh
a
yeah.
state. Yes, that is useful. So yeah, you just answered even before I asked the question. So my next question to you at this time is um let me try to put it this way. So what would you say are some of like the where do most intervention fail in reducing food wastage? Because there are lots of interventions that have happened just to see, let's see how we can curb it, let's see how we can minimize it. From your own experience, where are these, interventions failing, and what should stakeholders or government or entrepreneurs sort of do differently? What would you say about that?
Okay, so that's a pretty technical question, but I'm going to try to answer it from my own experience.
Yeah.
Um, wow. So agriculture, as I always say, is a sector that is very human, right? It's a very, very human sector, and it's a sector that requires emotional intelligence. Requires emotional intelligence to actually delve in and be successful. Now, most of
Yeah.
our farmers that produce most of the food that we eat in Nigeria are peasant farmers. There are now,
Mm.
now there are huge farms in Nigeria. We have huge greenhouses. We have, this big mechanized farms, but those farms alone cannot feed the nation. And
True.
if we depend on the produce gotten from those farms alone, then only the elite or the high class would be able to afford food because
Yeah.
of the money, the fund, the technical know-how, just the expertise that goes around mechanized farming and greenhouse farming. The technology is complex and it is not cheap. So food
Yeah.
coming from those kinds of farms, it would be, I'll say, premium, and not everybody can afford premium.
Yeah.
So most of the food that feeds Nigeria comes from peasant farmers. And these
Mm.
people mostly are not very educated and
Mm-hmm.
not very exposed to very intense technology.
True.
Most of them, the technology that they know is probably to handle a mobile phone and make a phone call. And that is technology enough for them, right? So when you're working in this sector with this kind of people, then there has to be so much trust. And
True.
that's other area, or that's the main area I feel that a lot of agri-tech might fail if they don't establish a deep-seated trust in the relationship that they have with farmers.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, language is very, very powerful. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that language was so powerful until we started the work that we do at Fresh Fair, where we had to travel Nigeria and speak with the farmers in different clusters. Now, a farmer may not even give you audience when you say, "Oh, I'm coming to take all of your produce." They're going to be like, "Oh, they don't mind. They don't care." Because a lot of people have come and told them, oh, sometimes even give them starter packs in terms of seedlings. Take this, cultivate, we'll come back and we'll take as much as possible at the price that you would tell us to buy, right? I mean, companies
Yeah.
come that way because let's say they need a particular raw material. Let's say a feed manufacturing company now can come to a certain locality that has very fertile soil and tell them, okay, I'm bringing improved seedlings of corn. Take it, plant it on your lands, and I'll come back upon harvest and buy it off you at a price that is favorable for both of us. In fact, sometimes they make it look even nicer and tell them you're going to get it at the price that you decide to sell back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when it comes to that point, you already know what can transpire in that kind of situation. The arrangements are not entirely met, and
Mm,
sometimes they even promise fertilizers or promise certain aids to help them cultivate that particular seedling or whatever it is that they've been given to cultivate, and most times those are not consistent. So
yeah.
upon harvest, the prices or the whole arrangement is being broken and the farmer's trust is being dashed. So when
Yeah.
again, even with genuine interest or genuine what's it called now? Yeah, interest. They
Intentions.
may, yes, they may not want to go ahead further. They're like,
Yeah.
there's a certain drop, right? So I feel like agri-techs should try to build a deep sense of trust with the farmers that we work with, to be honest. Because if
Mm,
they don't trust you, they will not do good business with you, right?
mm,
So I feel like I call trust, honestly, I call trust a business model. I refer to
mm.
trust as a business model in agriculture and in agri-tech. So that is one area that I feel like agri-tech, they set up themselves to fail if there is not if they haven't taken time to build trust with the farmers that we work with. And then number two, I'd say poor sensitization. I remember I was talking about language at some point and I stopped. It was when I started working. Sorry, hold a second. I think something.
So, guys, this conversation is just getting really, 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 really. It's just an interesting conversation to just hear her share her perspective. But okay.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. So
Um.
I was talking about sensitization and investing in educating smallholder farmers or rural farmers. And it's one thing also that strengthens trust is speaking in the language that they understand while you teach them, and with so
Mm,
much empathy as well. Because it's not easy to till the soil with your hands, I'd say, because you don't have access to, you know, certain machinery to
yeah.
aid them, right? So you speak with them in the language they understand and with empathy, and you teach them truly from the heart because you understand that what they're doing is that important, is that serious. So you give them
Yeah.
credit for that. Like for me, my team at Fresh Fair is really diverse. So we have people who speak Igbo. We have my partner Francis Osai. I'm sure he's probably somewhere listening. So my partner Francis Osai speaks Yoruba.
Okay.
My other partner Chinedu DK, he speaks Igbo. And then that's me. I speak Hausa. I also speak T, So, and these are the areas where you find these farmers, right? So in the Yoruba area where we have clusters, that's in the southwestern part of Nigeria. Francis is right there speaking to them in the language that they understand and feeling their burning pain, understanding how what they go through, and telling them how we as Fresh Fair can help. So it makes
Yeah.
them trust us. It makes them want to learn whenever we bring up something to teach them, something to improve their farming system, something to improve their little, just little tricks here and there to make sure that upon harvest we have very good produce in the end. So that's another thing. We invest in sensitization campaigns and trainings on best practices as well. So we don't abandon our farmers, which is why we put them in clusters. Now that's another thing, another problem that or another challenge I'd say that most agri-tech may encounter if they don't follow with, or should I say, follow up with the farmers that they're working with. Now
Yeah.
you can just say, okay, I just started an agri-tech today, and I'm helping farmers move their produce, and then you just go random pick, and then you forget about them. So I mean, it's one thing to want to give them access to a market. It's another thing to actually sustain a relationship with them. It's another
Yeah.
thing to actually want to make sure their harvest is better. It's another
Yes.
thing to teach them best practices,
Yeah.
to help support them in terms of fertilizer access to pesticides and weedicides. Even if it's at subsidized rate, you're helping them get access to these things. It's very important, I'd say. And I'll just stop there. I'll stop there for
Yeah.
now and just go to the next section.
Wow, that's really, really good. Just, um, I think that it's like a common thread. Every single part, okay, not every single, like, um, the last time the guest I had, I think I had Dr. Sheil, we talked about harnessing like technology and AI for agriculture. And I was talking about like agri-tech needs to be built from a place of empathy, which is also something that you're emphasizing. Like you really need to be amongst them to
Oh yeah.
really understand their pain and their problems and then build a solution that adequately caters to that pain point that they have. You can't just sit somewhere else and then bring a solution that they might not need. Because even sometimes you can be the observer and then say, oh, I think that this is what they might need. But if you bring it to them, they might not need that. Not because it's not a good solution, but they don't think that that's what they need. And so if you're really solving problems for them, it has to be what they consider as their need, just like you emphasized, and
Yeah.
then do that. And I like how you talked about, trust is a business model. And I think
Yeah.
that I would want you to sort of shed more light to that. Because I was about to just ask you, what are like the key business models that makes agri-tech both sustainable and profitable in in a country like ours in Nigeria? What would you say? So I would like you to talk more about that.
Okay. So for business models, there is actually no business model that is cast in stone, because there are certain business models, especially in the sector where we work. Just as humans are dynamic and extremely complex,
Yeah.
uh, the business models in agriculture also have to be as dynamic and complex and simple at
Mm.
the same time. Agriculture is simple yet very complex, because the people who work agriculture are humans, and humans are far from simple. We're very complex
Mm.
beings. So, agriculture and the business models, I would even talk from the business models that we use at Fresh Fair, and which are also constantly evolving. Because now
Mm.
you start with something, and then you get to a point and that thing just does not work
No longer
anymore.
work.
And
Yeah.
exactly, so you have to be agile, and your business
Mhm.
models have to be agile as well. Now,
Yeah.
I talk about trust being a key business model in the work that we do. Now, in wanting to help someone, you have to get them to trust you
Yes.
first. So if they don't trust you, then they would not want to do business with you. They have to
True.
trust you, they have to like you, and then then later they will want to do business with you. I wouldn't want to do
Mm-hmm.
business. I mean, even if you want to help me, okay, fine. You're here telling me that, oh, I'm going to give you a ready market for your produce, and if they don't like me and they don't trust me, they're not going to do business with me.
True.
It's that simple. I can't force them. And when they refuse to do business with me, then I am not really solving a problem that I intend to solve, because
Yeah.
that's where the main problem is of taking from them. So now the second thing that I would talk about is what to do to actually stay profitable. Now, for Fresh Fair, when we started Fresh Fair, we were bootstrapping. We knew that it
Mm,
was a very capital intensive industry, or solution rather. Fresh Fair was a very capital intensive solution. And before we set up, from the idea period, we talked about, okay, we're going to need cold rooms, and that cost so much. I mean, just a 3-ton cold room could cost about 30 to $45,000 to construct, and that is only 3 tons, right?
mm,
And I mean, there was just Sheila and Francis and Chinedu, just young people who don't even have all of that money, right? We just, all we had was a brilliant idea, and we did not have the money. And one thing that agritechs must do to remain profitable, which I still call a business model, is to open their businesses to collaboration and meaningful partnerships. It is
yeah.
very, very important. You cannot do it alone. It's impossible to do it alone. So, and for us, what we did was we opened up to code hubs. Okay, code hubs, this is the idea that we have. This is the problem that we intend to solve. You already have this solar powered off grid cold rooms. How do we collaborate? How do we come together? Because we are all going towards a similar direction. Code Hubs, you're
Yeah.
here trying to minimize post harvest losses as well, in terms of providing cold storage infrastructure. And Fresh Fair wants to just do this supply chain thing. We want to shorten the supply chain. We want to ensure that less and less food is going to waste. So we are aligned. You have the infrastructure. We do not have it. Can we use yours?
Mm,
Partnership was set. And then
yeah.
that partnership has actually ensured, or made us grow as fast as we have grown, I'd say, and as
Mm,
well as we've grown. So agri-tech must always leverage on meaningful partnerships. That
yeah.
is that's a no-brainer. And then I'd say that agri-tech should not be in a hurry to take loans and capital that are not patient, I like to say.
Mm,
Now,
yeah.
for us at Fresh Fair, when we started, we knew that we didn't have any of this money, and we knew that it was wrong for us to approach a bank for a loan and be paying some crazy percentages returns, right? Some crazy
Yeah.
ROI. We didn't want to. We didn't want to, put ourselves in that kind of chokehold, or we didn't want that, because we know that the work that we do is not, you cannot 100% predict that this is what you're going to get. It's
Yeah.
not gardening. It's not payment, right? That's why I always say that agriculture is not fintech. I'm just always saying that agriculture is not fintech. Agriculture is not fintech.
Mm,
Financing. Ooh, am I still here?
yes.
Hi, peace. Are you still with me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you don't want to go take some type of loan. So for us at Fresh Fair, we were working with what we had per time. We're not in a hurry to scale. We're not in a hurry
Mm,
to blow. We're not in a hurry to blow, because that's not the essence, right? Solve a problem, and then whatever it is you're looking for would follow. The money would come, the fame would come, the influence, everything just comes from you effectively or efficiently solving a problem. So we're taking our time, and we'll do pilots. Our pilots could take like a month or two before we'll take a solution to market. So it was really patient, and it was really steady. The growth was very organic, and that was very strategic from our own point of view, right? So you have to do the work and
mhm.
get to a point where you know that, okay, at this point I am ready to get financed. You don't just wake up, start, and then quickly go. You may not be able to pay that capital back. And it's also important to get capital or financing from bodies, or from institutions, or individuals that understand the business of agriculture.
Yeah. More
They
like
have
impact investments.
Sorry?
Yeah. As in more like taking capital
Exactly,
from
impact
impact investor.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So impact investing is one area that agri-tech should really, really explore, because you don't want to take money from just any random investor who just wants to put in his money and get it back. I mean, that's a typical businessman thinking. You can't blame them, right? So you have to get financing from people or institutions that understand the depth of the work that you do in agriculture as well. So what else would I say um we did to stay profitable? Now, yeah, consistency. You
Mm.
have to be consistent with whatever it is that you've tried, you're doing. Let's say, is it cold chain? Is it what is it called now? If you're even trying to cultivate the produce yourself and process, everything requires you to be very, very consistent. The business models in agriculture are not like other industries where you can
Yeah.
just have, like, something, a formula. I mean, there is no playbook, I'd say, in agriculture, because it's a very human, very grassroots sector. So whatever it is you're doing, you just have to ensure that you're agile enough to change and
Mhm.
evolve as the industry and the people that work the industry are evolving. So I guess in the course of the conversation, I might be dropping, key models here and there. But for now, I know that trust is very important. I know that getting financing from investment companies or firms, and ensuring that you get very patient capital, being consistent in whatever it is that you're doing, and also blended financing and collaboration, very, very important, when it comes to agri-tech and success.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I like how you talked about the fact that it's important to start with from where you are with what you have. Like even
Exactly.
as you're on this entrepreneurship journey, don't just go run into the banks, because you might put yourself in so much debt that you're not able to then get it to
Oh
in the
yeah.
long run. Oh,
Oh
thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing that. So my next question at this time is, how can like young entrepreneurs or innovators that are interested in the agro-tech space, but maybe they don't have like a background in agriculture or tech, but they want to come on board, what would you say that that they need to sort of do to help them on that part?
Okay, so learn. I believe that with learning, anything is possible, you know. So, well, I may have an agricultural background, but that actually comes off of me growing up in a very agrarian community. So that
Yeah,
is just like you're fed agriculture for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it just becomes a part of you. If you're interested or not, it's something you know, right? And
yeah.
then um, I just know that if one could understand agriculture just by being around it, then anyone can actually be really good in agriculture by just investing a little bit of time to learn about it, right? So I
Mm,
always tell anyone who wants to start anything, whether agriculture or otherwise, there is room for learning. You don't need to have a certain background in a particular field to play in that field. Without that
mm,
background, you fine, you don't have the background, but you can build the background. It's
mm,
really possible, right? So you can learn as much as possible, invest your time and resources if need be in learning from there's like a lot of resources online that you can learn from, and then you can decide to even volunteer with
mm,
startups that are doing what interests you. There are several startups that are doing the real work. You can volunteer
yeah.
your time with them and learn. You can even do some internships at agricultural firms and learn, just depending on what area of agriculture you want to, or you're thinking about going into, because I know that with knowledge, then you become unstoppable. So build knowledge as much as you need to venture in the area of agriculture that you want to venture in. Contact people, resource persons, people are everywhere. Maximize LinkedIn. Just talk to people, right? Because a lot of startup founders in the agri-tech space, I observe, are really easy to talk to. Because I feel like
Yeah.
based off of the industry that we work with, I believe that a lot of agri-tech founders are very good people's people. When it comes to interacting with people, agri-tech founders are really good. And you can just reach out to any one of us on there and we can speak with you about whatever it is that you need, to be honest. And then what you then need to do when you start your idea, when you've ideated, you've created your idea and you plan to move, collaborate, team
Mm,
up, with
yeah.
like minds. You cannot, it's stressful, it's tiring. Even as a founder, there are several times that I and my team and we'll sit and we're like, oh my god, who send us work? Right? So there are times that you feel that way. So you need to not be alone, because when you're alone, it's easy for you to give up and your vision is just dead on arrival. You don't want that either. So invest in learning, and then when you start, invest in collaborations, partner, team up with like minds, and just go in and do the work. There's nothing stopping you. If we could start fresh fair from zero and grow to where we are now, and of course we're still growing, then I believe that anyone can start. Just all it needs is education. Teach yourself what you want to do, team up with like minds, understand the vision, understand the dream, know what is driving the dream, and be driven by the right things, to be honest. If you're driven by the wrong things, then you're going to set up yourself to fail.
Yeah.
I always say that when you're starting up in agri-tech, your whole idea shouldn't be, man, I'm going to start up something and I intend to blow. You're going to fail. You'll fail. So just start up something with the aim to solve a pressing societal need, to be honest, because people would pay for whatever solution that you create. There's several problems. Just find one problem, fix it, and everything just going to follow. So yeah, that's
Wow.
my advice.
Well, I think I like how you put that quote. Like in agriculture, we don't blow, we grow. We don't just
Yeah,
skyrocket. We
exactly,
grow. It's
exactly,
incremental.
absolutely.
I know that's beautiful. So this question now is, you know, um, targeted towards like for women, right? As a woman leader in the agricultural space where you currently play in, what are some of like the barriers you feel like you faced, and how what would you say you sort of were your mechanism to sort of navigate them, right? And also, how can we ensure that more women in this space, uh, who are shaping the future of food system within Nigeria, would possibly not face so much of those kinds of challenges? What were the challenges you faced as a woman, and how did you navigate them?
Wow. So whenever I get asked this question, I tend to feel that, this whole thing about stereotypes,
Okay.
women being treated as the underdog, and not really
Mm-hmm.
being, I mean, those things may have existed, but personally I haven't experienced it at all. Right.
Mm.
So sometimes I feel like when we talk about those type of things, I don't know, maybe it is like way, way, way before our time. The world has really evolved, and people are always saying, oh, the future is female. And especially in the agri-tech space, most of the
Yeah.
people that you find in the agri-tech space are women.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're women. Let's say if you go to a rural community in Benue, on a regular day, you visit a random farm. You're going to see, let's say, if you see 10 people in that random farm that you visited in that very random village, seven out of the 10 people that are going to be tilling that soil are women. So
Mm.
So I haven't particularly faced any type of challenges just because of my gender in the agri-tech space.
Okay.
I have
Fair enough.
not. I haven't. And there are several other female-led agri-tech startups that are doing so well that are recognized even globally. There are like women leaders in the agri-tech space, breaking glass ceilings at world conferences, doing the work and being recognized for doing the work, not just being recognized because they are female. I feel like
Mm,
agriculture is doesn't have gender, I'd say.
mm,
It doesn't have gender. It's just something that we do to, I mean, I feel like no, when God created the world and he made air, he's like, no, if you're male, don't breathe in air. If you're female, then breathe. No. So I feel like food is for everybody. Male and female are consuming it. And whatever it is, or whatever solution that anyone, male or female, brings to, take the industry forward and ensure that people are more food secure, to ensure that food is available and accessible and affordable for every member of the world. I don't know, it's not gender based. So there are no stereotypes. I haven't experienced any. Maybe others have, but I haven't experienced any. And if anyone has been experiencing that, then maybe it's something that we should talk about and see how we can, ensure that people or women are not stereotyped because of their gender. And maybe because of their gender, their solutions or their contributions are overlooked. No, I haven't experienced that. And if anyone's experiencing that, then I feel like it's something we should truly work towards stopping.
mhm.
But yeah, I haven't faced any challenges because I'm female.
Okay, fantastic. I
But
like
not
how you
yet,
said.
at least.
Okay, so I like how you said it, like from your own experience and your own context. The reason
Yes.
I asked that question is because um, people tend to hear stories, and people tend to, build like framework or mindset based off of stories that they hear. For
Yeah.
instance, there are like certain communities that, if a woman is trying to, let's say, possibly acquire large expanse of land, and let's say, she's unmarried or she's from that space, they might not allow her have access to that amount of land. Probably she wants to use for
Mhm.
farming. That's like a, you know something that impedes that activity that what she wants to do, right? So there's that for some persons. However, there's also the possibility of, because I was speaking to Mr. Olariwaju, who's like an agro extension person in Nigeria, has like a
Yeah.
private agro extension business. And he was talking about the fact that sometimes when they go to like most of these rural communities, and just like you mentioned, a huge portion of the population that are farming are actually women, right? And so when they are trying to have like this town hall meetings to see how they can create like solutions that are suited for those people, the actual people farming, which is the woman, most of them might not even be in the room. So it's their husbands that are there, sometimes. So these are like some of like, the limitations. And back to my narrative, which is people hear those kinds of story, like a young lady hearing that kind of story, like, "Ah, that means this is not for me, right?" But from
Oh.
what you've said, yeah, like you could hear things like that and then be discouraged, like, okay, I don't think this
Yeah.
is for me. I don't want to
Yeah.
go through that much opposition. There's too much
Hmm.
resistance already, so I don't want to be part of that. And the person is just sort of discouraged, right? But from what you've said, within the agrotech space, that's a bit limited. And I think that based off of what you had highlighted earlier on, which is more about education, I think the more educated, the more enlightened, the more exposed the person is, your opportunities are much more compared to when you were less
Absolutely.
educated.
Absolutely. You're
Yeah, so
right.
I would want to say that's how we would navigate that. So for any sister, woman listening to us today that's interested in agriculture, but you've heard a lot of stories that women cannot, they don't sell lands to women, please do not do not buy into that, and
Right.
encourage
Right.
encouraged. And I think that just like you said, being in a community where you are able to see other people doing great things also allows you own that self belief that you can also do such things. So I would say to such a person, be part of a community that also allows you see how people are doing tremendous things, and that builds your own self belief to want to do tremendous things. So that's how I would say
Absolutely.
to that person that, that's like a thought process. Please do not be, hesitant to start out. So my very last and final question to you: what are like two or three actions our listeners can take today to sort of reduce food waste, either in their homes, in their community, or as even as an enterprise? What would you say? Two or three things that can be done.
Okay. So the first thing that you can do at home to reduce food waste. Now, you know that in agriculture, food waste and post harvest losses are similar but different, right?
True.
So, right. So to stop or reduce food waste in your home, try to cook as you can eat, right? So
Mm,
if you're cooking a big pot of food and it's just two of you in the house, and you know that you don't have electricity to store that food and eat it later, then what's the point? Just cook a little bit that you and whoever it is that you with in the house can eat and finish. So there's nothing to throw away. Now that is food
mm,
waste. Now, for trying to reduce post-harvest losses, let's say you've harvested yams and potatoes. There's a simple thing that we used to do back then. My father, he would dig like a pit, dig it down, yes, and then put the potatoes, the freshly harvested sweet potatoes, put them in there without cleaning them. That is, with all of the the soil on it, just put them in that hole, and then cover with a little what's it called now? Raffia palm frond,
yeah,
palm
yeah.
frond, just put it up on top. It can last like for a long time without decay. Simple, but works, right? And then for your onions, if you have onions at home, just drop them, leave them on the floor outside. You don't, in fact, onions don't really even need cold storage. Onions are going to deteriorate when you enclose them. So just open
Mm,
them up and let them air. They can last for weeks that way. And then for another remedy to curb food waste, now let's say, I mean, it's hard for you to completely eliminate food wasting in your household. So when it does waste, don't dispose it anyhow. You speak like a Nigerian. Don't dispose it anyhow. Right, so you can compost all of your kitchen waste, into manure. So I
yeah.
always encourage you to have a little garden, just have something in the backyard, cultivate maybe corn or okra or pepper, tomatoes. These are really simple. You just need to, like, dice tomatoes in your kitchen, and you can just throw away that water with the tea. Before you know it, you have a tomato plant sprouting in the
Mm,
backyard. And this little garden you have needs manure. So your kitchen waste, you can always compost them so that you're not trashing food into the environment and causing environmental pollution.
mm.
What else can you do differently now? What else? What else? What else? I guess if I remember, I'd say. But yeah,
Okay.
composting, and of course that little trick about your potatoes and your yams. Um, and then what else now? Off the top of my head, I think it's missing. But yeah, those things can do.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I know I said that that was the last question. So this is more or less like your pattern shot. Because one of the reasons why I do this podcast is just to sort of help the average Nigerian or African youth also see a lot of potentials within agriculture. Because I think that when people see people doing things, it sort of creates like a self belief. Because one of the things I've also observed is like a lot of young people, even the ones particularly studying agriculture in universities, they don't want to have any single thing to do with agriculture. Not because they don't want to, but because for them, they are not hearing so many stories of success or triumph or people thriving within the space as much as other industries. And so that's part of the reason why I do this. So
Yeah.
this your pattern shot is now to that very young person that they're probably not interested, or they are interested but they're just sitting on the fence. Should I really practice agriculture? Should I do something else? And what would you say to that young African Nigerian youth that is within the agricultural space, probably their undergrad program, but still contemplating whether or not to go all in or pivot into something else.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my advice. If you don't feel like you're cut out for agriculture, then don't do it. Because it takes a lot of heart. It does. It takes a lot of heart, it takes a lot of effort. It takes, I mean, you need to be really hands-on. It's not simple. So if you don't feel like that's what's for you, then don't do it. There's several other things that you can do. But then if you feel that it is something that you can do, have faith. It pays. It really does. So just go all in, work the work, and definitely you're going to see rewards. It's such a rewarding, such a satisfying industry, such a satisfying journey, I'd say. Seeing that you're part of a very big solution, it's a reward that no trophy can top. So if you want to go in, go all in. There's nothing stopping you. All of us are behind you. And whatever it is that you need, call me and I would help in whatever way that I can. So please, if you're doing this, if you're already doing this and you're thinking about giving up, don't. Keep going forward. There's a very bright future ahead. The future is agri. The future is green. So
Yeah,
please keep going forward.
beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It has been an awesome delight to have you on the podcast today, Lady
Likewise,
Sheila.
likewise.
Yeah, the conversation has been insightful,
Likewise.
insightful, educative, and just mind opening. And I like how you are very people centered.
Yeah.
It even reflects in the way you answer the questions, and even from the way your tonality as you answer the question, it shows your deep heart for the sector, and that's something that that's something that is priceless. That's something that is priceless, and anybody doing this work has to have that. I feel like that's like the basic. You need to have the heart for people because there's so much challenges that comes with playing within the sector. And so even
Mm.
in those days when it's tough, that's like what you hold on to say, okay, because of me, someone gets to experience a better life. Because of me, someone gets to like have their business going for them. And so thank you for the work that you do with your
Thank you.
company. A big thank you to your team because I like I said to
Yeah.
you behind scenes, like I know how difficult it is to play within the sector because there are just days you wake up and like, who sent me? Why am I doing this? Especially when it also looks like the people you're trying to serve are also misunderstanding you, like not getting your point. So like, I'm trying to help you here. But still you still look way beyond that and still choose to go on. So thank you for the work that you do. And
Thank
thank you for coming on the podcast. So guys, like she said, reach out to her. She'll definitely oblige you. Because let me say it to you
you.
guys. I reached out to
Always.
her on LinkedIn. Like I have not seen Lady Sheila yet. I reached out to her on LinkedIn. I was like, "Oh, would you mind coming on the podcast?" She was like, "Yeah, sure, definitely, sure." And here she is today. So guys, definitely reach out to her, and she will definitely be resourceful and helpful to you on the journey as well. I'm just thinking, I think we'll talk about this behind camera. I think we'll talk about this behind camera. Okay? Think because something
Thank
came to my
you.
mind. We'll talk about it. Just don't go yet, don't go yet. But something came to my mind. So guys, please do share, like, subscribe so that more people are able to see this and learn from this experience. Well, thank you for staying with us from the beginning of the episode till the end. Do have a lovely time till the next episode, guys.
Thank you.